record of 15 wins, 10 in stakes races, and 4 seconds, with earnings of $2.1 million. He was the recipient of Sovereign Awards as champion sprinter in 2003 and champion turf horse, as well as named Canada's Horse of the Year in 2004. While he was not a Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame honored member, we also wanted to acknowledge the recent passing of thoroughbred trainer and icon Wayne Lucas. Wayne Lucas was a keynote speaker at a Hall of Fame induction ceremony here a number of years ago, and we ask you to stand and observe a moment of silence in their honor, please. Thank you. It is now time to hear from the President of the Hall of Fame, Bill Ford.
Us tonight as we celebrate the 49th anniversary of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. This evening honors a class of inductees whose achievements span across the country and the decades, reflecting the depth and diversity of Canadian horse racing. I take tremendous pride in welcoming the class of 2025, a group that has reached the pinnacle of our sport and left an enduring legacy. Their contributions, whether equine or human, have shaped our sport and inspired generations. Last year, I had the pleasure of presiding over my first induction gala, and I'm honored to address all of you here again tonight. Certainly, a lot has changed in the last year, both in racing and in our broader society. There have been some tough times, and there will continue to be some tough times. But as I said during my remarks at the President's reception, I think one thing has become clear, that we are stronger working together. Let's work to forget our differences and remember what has brought us here together, and it's the horse. Regardless of breed, whether a trainer, owner, breeder, jockey, driver, or track management, we must work together with utmost integrity to ensure that our sport can not only maintain what we have, but grow and thrive. I'd like to take a moment to thank the members of the nominating and election committees. It is their tireless work behind the scenes that makes tonight possible. A specific thank you to the chairs of the committees, the nominating committee chair, Thoroughbred, Glenn Sakara, Standardbred, Jeff Porchek, the election committee chair on Thoroughbred, Catherine Day Phillips, and on Standardbred, Garnet Barnsdale. Thank you. As the Hall approaches its 50th anniversary, we reflect on the people and horses who define Canadian horse racing. The Hall remains committed to honoring our past while ensuring a future that focuses on inclusion as we move forward. This year, we are very excited to bring back the inductees into the Legends category. It is imperative that as a Hall, we never forget those that built the foundation upon which our industry is built. As an aside, this evening's Recognized Legends really bring out the fan in me. Reading about the accomplishments of Wilma Kennedy and Bobby Huntress made me very proud that we could get these amazing women into the Hall. Well done by the chairs of the Legends Committee, Jim Bannon on the Thoroughbred side and Daryl Kaplan on the Standardbred side. When this evening ends, we will immediately start work on preparing for the 50th anniversary. It was 1976 when the first inductees went in the Hall. Names like Joe O'Brien, Jean-Louis Levesque, Northern Dancer, Ambro Flight, E.P. Taylor. What a class. The hall exists because of the support of people like you here this evening. Thank you for your support of the hall, and if anyone would like to consider a gift or donation to the hall, I can assure you it will be appreciated and go towards recognizing the people and horses that make Canadian racing so special. Finally, on behalf of the board, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks to Linda Rainey, whose dedication keeps the hall thriving, and all our volunteers and committees. Without your efforts, we would not have the hall that we are all so proud of. Enjoy the evening, and thank you for being part of the celebration.
Thank you, Bill. We would also like to acknowledge 3 past presidents of the hall in attendance this evening. So as I call your names, if you would please rise to identify yourself. Bill mentioned you earlier. From 2001 to 2005, Mr. Glenn Secura. From 2010 to 2017, John Stapleton. And 2018 to 2024, Daryl Kaplan. Thank you. Thank you for your outstanding work on behalf of our hall and your continued support of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. We really appreciate your efforts and your incredible work.
An event such as this would not be possible, obviously, without the support of sponsors. So we thank the following companies and organizations for their generous and continued support. Many of these sponsors have been with us for an extended period of time, for which we are very, very appreciative. Ontario Racing, our gold event sponsor. Woodbine Entertainment's broadcast production department for producing the always outstanding inductee biography videos. The Jockeys Benefit Association of Canada, our reception sponsor. Ontario Harness Tracks, our inductee toast sponsor. COSA, the Central Ontario Standardbred Association, our wine sponsor. Hear, hear. The Horses Alberta, our inductee ticket sponsor. Master Feeds, our photography sponsor. Omega Alpha, our Induction Gala supporter, and also Ontario Lottery and Gaming, also an Induction Gala supporter. To each of these organizations and our friends behind them, thank you very, very much. How about a round of applause for all of tonight's sponsors?
So now it is time to begin this evening's inductions, as well as the first course of dinner service. I should remind those personalities being inducted this evening, or their representatives, you will be invited to the stage at the conclusion of their biographical video, and are welcome to speak once they're presented with their Hall of Fame ring, and our photographer Clive snaps a photo of this very special occasion. The connections of all the horses being honored this evening will have the pleasure of being interviewed by either myself or Kelly, so that all of us can learn the details of their honored equines, and those interviews will take place on the far side of the stage. So, following the presentations, we will do that. Now we've got all the instructions out the way, let's begin. So our first thoroughbred inductee was snapped up as a yearling by Ocala's Glen Hill Farm from Ontario breeders Sean and Dorothy Fitzhenry. Unraced at 2, it was on the E.P. Taylor turf that her affinity for the grass first came into full view. Her flawless Woodbine campaign as a 4-year-old would fuel her assault of top-class races south of the border. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct Marketing Mix. Please turn your attention to the screens for the video salute.
Known for her consistency and durability, Ontario-bred Marketing Mix is the best horse ever raced by the successful Glen Hill Stable, an American farm that purchased her as a yearling for $150,000 from Toronto's Sean and Dorothy Fitzhenry. Marketing Mix cut a swath through major turf races for fillies and mares from 2011 to 2013.
And Marketing Mix has come away with the lead, and it's Marketing Mix and Julia Laperoux to win the dance smartly.
Trained by Tom Proctor, the daughter of Medagliadoro returned to Ontario early in her career to finish third in the Woodbine Oaks and fourth in the Bison City Stakes, the first two jewels of the Canadian Triple Tiara. When she tried the grass for the first time in the Wonderwear Stakes, the third jewel, she scored a dominating 4 3/4 length victory.
And it's Marketing Mix as they come to the last 16th of a mile, pulling away to score a decisive victory in the Wonderwear. Marketing Mix won it by 4.
Well, that was the beginning of a tremendous career which included 10 wins, 7 of them graded stakes races at 5 different racetracks. Among Marketing Mix's biggest moments were Grade 1 wins in the Rodeo Drive and Gamely Stakes, both at Hollywood Park, and a near miss in the 2012 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf at Santa Anita.
Marketing Mix, and Zagora is going to win it, and Zagora has won the Filly and Mare Turf to Marketing Mix.
She also defeated males in the Grade 3 Sunset Handicap at Hollywood Park in her first try at the challenging distance of 1.5 miles on turf.
Marketing Mix, Dahmer, the mare says, I win!
Marketing Mix earned just over $2 million and is now a broodmare for Glen Hill Farm.
In addition to the Crystal Award, the Horse Connections receive a custom stall plate signifying their status as an honored member of the Canadian Racing Hall of Fame. And accepting for Marketing Mix is Craig Bernick of Glen Hill Farm. Making the presentation is breeder Sean Fitzhenry. All right, congratulations. Craig, we look back at the incredible career of Marketing Mix and we see campaigns that went back and forward with great success between the United States and Canada, specifically here in Woodbine. How important was that to Marketing Mix's racing success?
You know, we probably didn't treat her as easy as we have a lot of our horses. She could stand training. She sort of got better every year, and you know, we like to be conservative, but we shipped her up here. She handled it. She'd train back in the States and come back. And, you know, as an older filly, it really held her in good stead. She was able to win Churchill Downs graded race, Arlington Park graded race, Santa Anita, Hollywood, obviously up here at Woodbine. And she was just a very, very durable filly, great mind, sweet horse. And, you know, it was just a thrill to be part of her success.
We've seen some of the feats that she achieved on the screen there. Is there one particular one, any particular moment or race that stood out for you in her career?
You know, when we brought her back as a 5-year-old, she had won a Grade 1 at Santa Anita, the Rodeo Drive, and was second in the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, and we decided to run her again. And my grandfather, who was still alive at the time, was supposed to come to Hollywood Park, and we're lucky enough to use his plane, but he wasn't well enough to come. And I think that he had flown to many, many races, and when we got back to the plane after, the pilots were astounded that we actually won. Like they couldn't believe it. So she was a much better horse than we normally went to travel for. So that was that's what I always remembered about her.
As far as her as a broodmare, can you tell us about her life since racing?
You know what? She's the sweetest horse. Everyone always asks me how she's been as a broodmare. She's had winners, but nothing like her. But you know, when I was looking at all the inductees, I have family in Canada and a big affinity for Canada, but it's really remarkable because her foal this year is the best she's had, and it's by Justify. Justify, of course, is from the Stormbird sire line and from a Ghostzapper mare. So maybe it's very prophetic that the horses are coming in today. And we'll have to. She's bred in Kentucky, but hopefully she'll be able to come up here, and we'll be able to breed from her. We have a couple fillies from Marketing Mix. She's had stakes place horse, but hasn't reproduced herself yet. But we're very, very hopeful.
Congrats on your Nassau Stakes winner again this year.
Yeah, thank you. That was a big thrill. Ocean Club has a lot more to do to be at this level, but she runs another grade 2 at Saratoga on Friday and has a shot, and it was a great thrill to win. When our family wins stakes races with multiple horses, we always put the pictures together. So it's really nice to have Marketing Mix and Ocean Club together, having won the same race. It's very, very special.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. It's a big honor.
Our first Standardbred inductee of the evening was sensational from the get-go. A world record, freshman dominance, and speed status that upon retirement made him a likely prospect as an exceptional sire. Indeed, he has exceeded even those highest of expectations, gifting his progeny and the harness racing industry with his lasting influence of excellence. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct Muscle Mass.
Muscle Mass established himself as a premier trotting stallion, consistently producing top-tier performers throughout North America and Europe. Unbeaten as a 2-year-old in 7 starts, including 5 major stakes races, he retired to stud duty as the fastest 2-year-old son of the formidable sire Muscles Yankee, and passed on his exceptional speed, conformation, and temperament to his offspring. Despite an abbreviated racing career following an injury early in his 3-year-old campaign, Muscle Mass has been a leading influence in the trotting world, producing 923 starters with average earnings of more than $95,000. In 2012, his first crop of foals raced, and through the end of April 2025, his progeny earned in excess of $84 million in purse money. He was the #1 trotting sire in Canada in 2024 and the top producing trotting sire in the Ontario Sire Stakes program from 2020 through 2024.
Riveting Rosie punishes them, wins by 6 lengths.
Now standing at Tara Hill Stud in Port Perry, Ontario, his roster of champion offspring include Millionaire's Six Pack, Plunge Blue Chip, and 2-time O'Brien Award winner Adair Castle. Muscle Mass also sired numerous Ontario Sire Stakes gold champions, including Riveting Rosie, Muscle Matters, Motown Muscle, and Muscle Baby Doll.
And Muscle Baby Doll barely broke a sweat. Muscle Baby Doll, much the best.
Accepting Muscle Mass's award and stall plate is David Heffring, owner of Tara Hills, where Muscle Mass stands, and making the presentation is Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame 2021 Builder inductee, Jim Bullock. All right, Dave, I have a couple questions for you. You look apprehensive. Why is that?
Yeah, you never know.
You trust me implicitly, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. All right. So you and your team at Terra Hills have spent nearly a decade, day in and day out, with muscle mass. I assume all of these stallions have a certain commanding presence, but what is one trait of muscle mass that you still find compelling after all of these years?
He's a very mellow horse. You wouldn't think that he was a stallion. I mean, he's well behaved and does his job. You know, I think people talk about if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and he's like that. And he never gives us any, I mean, he doesn't roar. He meets everybody that comes through the barn. He's in the first stall. And he's a great horse to be around. You know, everybody really respects him.
He's a gentlemanly stallion.
Yes, I was thinking that some days are probably like the movie Groundhog Day for most stallions, but I don't think it is for him. He's pretty good.
That's excellent. That's an excellent answer. See, this is so easy. Yeah. We could just stay up here all night. All right, so Muscle Mass has the primo stall in the stallion barn. You've said that he enjoys exclusive perks all year round. And I'm wondering if you and your staff at Terra Hills have anything special on tap for him, or have done anything special to commemorate this Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, well, I started to look for recipes or something, if we could bake him a cake or make a cake or something like that, and also trying to maybe find him a tux that he could wear, and we could feed him. So
I just want you to picture this. Just picture this in your minds right now.
But I'm a good delegator, so I can come up with the ideas and then pass it on to my staff, who did an excellent job at figuring out what to do, and they did make him a cake and everything like that. So I think we can probably show you what we did for him, right?
All right, yes, let's see. Aww. Is that not darling?
So that cake is made out of sweet feed, and it's decorated with apples and carrots. And I think, well, they went just with the one picture, but he did have his name spelled Muscle Mass on the cake too, so.
And the little tux, the little tux. That is lovely and sweet, Dave.
Yeah, which worried my wife when I was looking for clothes to dress up a horse, because when you end up going through, you end up looking for that kind of stuff.
You get a search history.
It's all like kids' parties things, and you got to search. And when she went through the history, it was like, Dave, what are you doing? Yeah. So anyway, we're all good now.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, congratulations, Dave, to you and your staff.
And I just want to say thank you very much to Ken Jackson and Bob Brady for bringing the horse back to Canada and giving us a chance to stand him, and to my staff and everybody like that for doing a great job with him. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Muscle Mass.
That is one cute photo. Well, our next inductee, I want to say that there's something truly special about someone who creates their own breeding operation from scratch and who is truly self-taught. His spectacular arc of success as an owner, breeder, is not only a reflection of his vision, but also of his ceaseless and meticulous study that turned into a lifetime pursuit. With quiet humility, his calculated risks soon paid off, and then some. His Tall Oaks farm evolved from a handful of broodmares to what today is a band of several dozen, with 5 stallions, all of whom are homebreds, underlying his unwavering support of thoroughbred racing. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct thoroughbred builder Ivan Dalos.
From the moment Ivan Dalos claimed his first horse in the 1970s, the Toronto businessman immersed himself in learning everything he could about thoroughbred racing and breeding. Ivan, who came over from Hungary around the same time that E.P. Taylor opened Woodbine Racetrack, was talked into that first horse purchase by a friend, but that sparked a legacy in Canadian horse racing. Ivan has spent 50 years researching and creating winning pedigree nicks that have produced champions, dozens of stakes winners, and already 2 horses he will join in the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. Victory Gala, the first foal out of Ivan's mare Victorious Lil, won the 1995 Belmont Stakes, spoiling the Triple Crown bid of the Bob Baffert trained Real Quiet.
Run! Here comes Victory Gallop with Gary Stevens. It's Real Quiet Casorno, but on the outside, Victory Gallop, too tight to call.
Channel Maker, an Eclipse Award-winning grass horse and multi-millionaire bred by Ivan, was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2024. Under the Tall Oaks Farm name, Ivan started a pedigree line that included champions Amise Gizmo, Amise Holiday, Amise Mesa, and it continues to get stronger. That same line is responsible for the 2025 American Grade 1 winning filly, Copian.
Copian kicks away. Copian splashes home the 3-length winner.
A Sovereign Award winner for Canada's Outstanding Breeder, in 2022, Ivan was presented with the E.P. Taylor Award of Merit, named after the first man he idolized in racing. Whether his homebreds are sold for big prices at the sales or kept to race, you can expect to see more successful Tall Oaks breeding for years to come.
Yes, I know. You do. You want to please us. Because you know that we love you and you love us.
We welcome Ivan Dalos to the stage, along with his daughter Colleen, and making the presentation to Ivan Dalos is longtime friend and partner Nick Lotz, joining us from Kentucky.
Good evening, folks. As you know, I'm not one to write speeches. I'm not very good at making them either, so I'll try to make it as short as I can. When I started my journey 40 years ago, accidentally, by the way, I just fell into it. I never realized where it's going to lead me, and I certainly didn't think it's going to lead me to this stage today. Along the way, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. Most of them were very nice and very helpful. And I would like to thank all of you because I certainly cannot name you all. But I would like to name a few very special people that helped me to get here today. The very first one, the gentleman standing right behind me. His name is Nick Lotz from Briarwood Farms in Paris, Kentucky. I met Nick at the time when I decided that I wanted to enlarge my breeding operation from being strictly an Ontario breeder to become a North American breeder and start breeding to Kentucky stallions. And I needed a place to keep my mares to get them covered. and I was introduced to him by an American bloodstock close to 30 years ago. And after a few telephone discussions, we decided we're going to give it a shot to work together. And we have been working ever since, somewhat successfully, where Nick started out to be strictly a manager of horses for me initially. Eventually, he's now become a good friend, a mentor, a soundboard, and since my wife became ill about 10 years ago, my eyes and ears in Kentucky, because I'm no longer able to travel to see stallions down in Kentucky or even see my own horses down there. During that time, starting from covering broodmares, we started raising babies down there to the point where now all our babies are raised in Kentucky. Then Nick started getting the horses ready for sales, both in Kentucky and Toronto. Then he started breaking my horses. We ended up basically doing everything except training horses for the racetrack. And that's just probably because he doesn't have a racetrack. Nick, my friend, I would like to thank you for all the years that you have helped me and you stood by me. Thank you ever so much. The next very special person, unfortunately, is not with us, is the late Paul Buttigieg. I met Paul back in the early 90s at the very first Toronto Yearling Select Sale when I decided that I wanted to start getting into the breeding business to get better horses instead of claiming horses. I started out with claiming horses for the first 10 years of my racing career. But I decided that I wanted to get out of the claiming game and I wanted to start better horses, allowance horses, stake horses. And after much discussion how to get better horses, which included trying to get blue hand mares, which I could not afford, or getting stake horses, buying privately, which I also could not afford, I decided the best way to do it is try to buy yearling fillies and develop them themselves. And at that very first sale, I met Paul, I had a discussion with him, and I have been working with Paul Buttigieg ever since the early 1990s. During that period, Paul has looked after my yearlings, he's looked after wintering my horses, he's looked after my injured horses during the summer racing season or that needed some recuperative time. Unfortunately, he's not here, so thank you, Paul, wherever you are. And thank you, Ian Dick, your great manager, who's now presently looking after all these horses. Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Paul. The next person I would like to thank is a fellow Hall of Famer sitting right on next to my table, is Josie Carroll. I met Josie Carroll back, I guess, in the early 90s when I was still working with David Bell, when they were sharing a barn together. And many, many mornings I would watch Josie's horses prance by me while I was waiting for my horses get tacked. And I had quite a few talks during that period. And I made up my mind there and then that one day, if and when I have good enough horses to give to Josie, I would like to work with her, which eventually came to fruition 10 years later when we started working in the early 2010s, I guess. And ever since that time, Josie managed to develop my horses, got a number of stake horses, a number of champions that we bred. And you and your crew has done a fantastic job I thank you very much, Josie, for everything you have done. Lastly, I would like to thank my family. My family is literally my partners in Tall Oaks Farm. When I decided to go on my own, I decided to form a family partnership, which included my wife and my 3 daughters. And during all those years, they stood by my side, supported my endeavor in good and bad. All the mornings when I wasn't there for breakfast with the kids, and the afternoons when I wasn't there for dinners with the family because we had horses to run or horses to look at. I apologize for not doing it, but the results speak for themselves. Thank you very much for standing by me all these years, you and also my grandchildren who are also now with me. Thank you for supporting me in all these years. And very fortunately, 7 years ago, my middle daughter, Colleen, decided that she wants to become an active partner in the business. Up to that point, I did everything by myself, on my own, alone, as a part-time business, because I had a full-time business to run as well. So all my endeavors were at the horse business were strictly as a sideline. So 7 years ago, my daughter, Colleen, standing behind me, joined Tall Oaks Farm as managing partner. And as of now, she's going to be the one is going to be carrying the torch forward. And I want you to run as fast as you can, and I will try to walk as fast as I can behind you. It's been a long journey, and all I can say is quote an old crooner who back about 50 years ago sang a song which went something like this: I did it my way. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You had a great crowd, and enjoy your evening.
For more than 3 decades, our next inductee was both a passionate advocate and a hands-on changemaker for harness racing in Prince Edward Island. He was tenacious and hilarious in equal parts. His unique and measured approach created positive results that rippled throughout the nation and beyond for the benefit of us all. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct the late Kent Oakes.
Kent Oakes dedicated his career to advancing the harness racing industry, making a lasting impact regionally, provincially, and nationally. The native of North Wiltshire, Prince Edward Island, was chair and a longtime director of Standardbred Canada and served on the election and nomination committees of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. In his home province, Oakes served on numerous industry boards and committees, including the Atlantic Harness Racing Development Council and the PEI Harness Racing Industry Association. He was CEO of the PEI Lotteries Commission, interim director of racing at the Maritime Provinces Harness Racing Commission, and racing manager at Red Shores Properties. He represented the province on the Planning and Construction Committee in redeveloping the Charlottetown Driving Park, helping to shape a strong future for the island's racing infrastructure. Through his work that spanned more than 30 years, Oakes was always positive and proactive in moving the standardbred industry forward. In February of this year, Oakes was posthumously awarded the 2024 Cam Fella Award by Standardbred Canada for his outstanding service and dedication to Canadian harness racing. Kent's leadership and lifelong contributions to harness racing earned him widespread respect throughout the industry and a well-deserved place in the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame.
Are Kent's sons Nicholas and Jeremy Oakes, who have joined us from PEI, and making the presentation is Jim Whalen, fellow Maritimer and Standardbred Canada Director.
Hello. There. My name's Nicholas Oakes. This is my brother Jeremy, my uncle Wayne, my aunt Darlene, and my cousin Daryl. I'm so glad they were able to come up with us today from Prince Edward Island. And you know, part of me wants to apologize because everybody is so proud, profoundly proud to be here tonight and to be joining the legends in both sports. And you should be proud. Our family, we're pretty sad to be here. You just heard about all of our father's accomplishments, and there were lots of them. But as I said in the piece that I was so pleased to be able to ask to write for Trot magazine, Dad grew up on the side of the hill in North Wilshire, PEI, population 150 people. Anyone will tell you Dad was a leader in the industry. Not from above, but from within. He didn't want to manage the sport. He was simply a part of it. Besides his family, there was nothing, and I mean nothing, more important to him than the people and the horses in this business. To tell you the measure of a man, I'll tell you a little bit about the day he died. He spent the morning in Summerside looking after my brother's kids, Charlie and Leo. He then went to Kensington to meet with fellow Cam Fellow Award winner and very good friend Mitch Murphy, who's director of racing at the time with the Atlantic Provinces Harness Racing Commission. Then Dad went on the road. He was coming to meet me. We were going to Truro, Nova Scotia to race a couple colts in the Atlantic Sire Stakes. Dad never made it. Ever since that day, I've listened a lot to a song by Keith Urban. It's called Song for Dad. And one of the lines that really stuck with me was, when someone says they hope they get to meet your dad, I just smile and say, you already have. Dad was such a huge influence on Jeremy and I. I live and breathe harness racing. Jeremy not so much. But he did pick up Dad's love of civil service and serving the taxpayers of Prince Edward Island. The taxpayers that Dad knew better than anyone were better served by our province's support of the harness racing industry. Our industry contributes tax dollars and income that supports healthcare, education, infrastructure, everything a normal person depends on. Our province is better off for their support of the industry. Jeremy and I were like two halves of him. So, if you never met Ken Oakes, you can now say you already have. Right here and right here. I want to say thank you to Jeff Porchak, the nominating and voting committees from the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. I want to say thank you to Dad's great and very dear friend, Jim Whalen, who he spoke with every day for years. I'm so glad Jimmy was able to join us here tonight. And most of all, the people of Prince Edward Island. This is because of you. This wasn't because of him. This was because of you. And this is for you. I just wish my old man was here to see it. And you know, standing up here in the stage at the O'Brien Awards and the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame, speaking at a harness racing, horse racing event, Dad wouldn't think it's the most outlandish thing to see me up here. Having Jeremy up here, that's not on his bingo card. That's a fact. Do you want to say something, Jeremy? Jeremy's just going to say a couple words.
There's a greater than 0% chance that my brother might come back here someday. There's a less than 0% chance I ever will. And I know Dad would just be dying with laughter to know that I had the opportunity to speak at the O'Briens and at the Horse Racing Hall of Fame, and that would make him very proud. We just, as Nick said, we really wish he was here with us. Anyone who knew Dad would know this would embarrass him quite a bit. He would never give the spotlight to someone else if he thought there was someone else more deserving. And we really, truly appreciate all this. I thank you very much. I thank everybody, the outpouring of support we've seen from all across North America, from this industry, in the wake of a terrible tragedy. We truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Well, it takes a certain level of courage to be a jockey, especially if you never grew up around horses or never stepped foot on a racetrack. But that didn't stop an 18-year-old Alberta native from trying his luck. Turned out there was a lot more to it than just luck. He was a natural, so gifted, in fact, that within no time, he had gone from quarter horses to thoroughbreds and from bushmeats to winning stakes races. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct jockey Perry Winters. Let's roll video on his sensational career.
Growing up in Granham, Alberta, Perry Winters didn't know much about horse racing until a trick-riding friend told him he had the size to be a jockey. A natural athlete who excelled at basketball and baseball, Perry considered himself fearless, so tried his hand at riding racehorses. Not only did he fall in love with the sport, he etched his name in Canadian horse racing history with a career worthy of inclusion into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. Perry was just 18 when he received early race riding lessons from top Alberta quarter horse trainer William Leach. His first competitive races came at the bush tracks of Alberta, Grand Prairie, Medicine Hat, and Cochrane. He switched over to thoroughbreds permanently in the early 1980s and began riding at Marquee Downs in Saskatchewan before moving his tack to the A circuit in Alberta, winning 139 races in just his second full season there. During his career, Perry eventually captured 7 riding titles and rode over 2,900 winners. Among his stakes race victories was the 1993 Canadian Derby aboard Cozy Gray, plus numerous added money races aboard champions such as Chilcotin Blaze,
Chilcotin Blaze extends his lead out.
Just Jeff, and Staraway. Riding against some of the best jockeys this country has produced, such as Don Seymour, Ron Hansen, and Rick Hedge, Perry rode in over 10,000 races before he retired in 2012. He remains in the top 10 of Canadian-born jockeys by all-time wins.
Making the Hall of Fame presentation to Perry Winters is his son, Trey. Welcome, Trey.
Thank you very much. I'm so honored to be here. It's so real. First of all, I'd like to thank all the Alberta horsemen for making it possible, helping me to be here. I'd like to thank all the owners, trainers, valets, gate crew, everybody that was involved in the backstretch. Made my career a great one, and that's all I got to say. I'm not much of a speaker. But to all your young riders too and everything, keep going. It's a long road, but it's a fast road, and ride your horses fast and enjoy your life. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee has been the avid seeker and teller of horse racing's most precious natural resource, our stories. For more than 3 decades, he has brought our tales to life in a constant celebration and exploration of our people and our horses. His artistry is evident in every sentence, every paragraph, and every page. His prolific volume of work has garnered 30 awards in as many years as we've had the pleasure of entrusting him to tell our narratives with integrity and with panache. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is pleased to induct Dave Briggs.
Dave Briggs has dedicated over 30 years to horse racing journalism, building his reputation for integrity, professionalism, and passionate support of the sport. A native of Windsor, Ontario, Briggs graduated from the University of Western Ontario with a Master's of Journalism degree. He quickly parlayed an early career story on Western Fair Raceway for the London Free Press into a job at the Canadian Sportsman, at the time Canada's longest running publication, where he spent 19 years until its closure in 2013. Throughout his career, Dave's writing has been recognized with 30 national and international journalism awards, including 4 Standardbred Canada Media Excellence Awards and a record 12 John Hervey Awards from the United States Harness Writers Association. He also has 2 World Trotting Conference Media Awards, an Ontario Equestrian Publication Award, and a Dan Patch Media Award in his portfolio. In 2017, he was inducted into the United States Harness Racing Hall of Fame Communicators Corner, and in 2023, he was honored with the Tom White Media Award by the Little Brown Jug and the Delaware County Fair. Considered one of harness racing's most respected and honored writers, Briggs now serves as editor of Harness Racing Update and as communications and content specialist for Ontario Racing.
Making the presentation to Dave Briggs is Gary Forster, publisher of the Canadian Sportsman.
They say when you die, your life flashes before your eyes. Honestly, the last few months have felt like that with a much better ending. Funny enough, a few people have mentioned being enshrined in the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame as a first-line item in your obituary. I don't disagree, I just hope this isn't the universe trying to tell me something. So thank you to everyone that made this day possible, because this humbling, mind-numbing honor has given me the gift of perspective and the opportunity to really appreciate how I've been blessed beyond belief in two areas absolutely critical in horse racing: luck and family. There have been a ridiculous number of people that have helped me get here that are hugely important to me. Don't worry, I'm not going to name them all here tonight out of fear of speaking too long, but since I'm a writer, I did write a more thorough piece that I'll be posting on a few social media platforms soon to make sure as many people as possible know that I didn't get here without them. For me, family comes first, and I've been profoundly lucky to have a great one. My older brother, Brian, sadly only lived to the age of 14, but before he left us, he instilled in me a love of sports born out of a little brother's admiration. That love of sports was further elevated by our next-door neighbors. Meanwhile, my mother's favorite sport was correcting my grammar. She's the biggest reason I am standing here tonight. My father, who was a professor of political science at the University of Windsor for 4 decades, is a tremendous writer that has lived his life with a quiet brand of incredible integrity. My much older sister, Karen, will tell you she is the true horse lover in this family, so something that rubbed off when she least expected it. When I was a kid, I was scared of horses, to her great amusement. Siblings, am I right? Today, I'm just allergic to horses, so it's been quite a journey, and that part is true. I actually am allergic to horses. 30 years ago this October, I married the love of my life. Many of you may believe you have the greatest spouse in the world, but I regret to inform you that you're wrong. Laura and I have 3 kids together, and the 2 oldest are here tonight, while our youngest volunteered to stay home to look after our dog. If you've seen my social media, you know about the dog. I'm proud to say all 3 of our children are amazing and talented and passionate in completely different ways, while all sharing their father's stubbornness. I am proud of them all. As for sports, I was never much of an athlete. It was house league all the way for me. They say those that can't do, write about it. At least that's what the true athletes and a few people in this room have told me. But it's important for you to know that nearly 40 years after I became the sports editor of my high school newspaper and all this started, I still absolutely love finding and telling a great story, probably now more than ever, actually. Along the way, I've been blessed to have worked for the longest for 2 of the greatest bosses a person could wish for, Gary Forster and David Reed. 30 years ago, the same year Laura and I got married, 1995 was quite a year for me, Gary and his equally fantastic business partner, Joel Falkenham, hired me to work at the Canadian Sportsman covering harness racing. I had 0 horse racing knowledge when I started, but Gary was kind and patient and supportive. Most importantly, he gave me free rein to cover the sport the way I wanted to do it. I will be forever grateful for that faith and latitude, and I'm glad he could be here tonight so I could thank him in person. Along the way, I teamed up with Hall of Fame photographer Dave Landry. We've had some amazing journeys together covering the standardbred industry. His images made my words better, and I was deeply honored 7 years ago when he asked me to present his Hall of Fame ring. Today, my run of good luck continues, and I'm fortunate to work at Ontario Racing and Harness Racing Update. And in both cases, I find myself blessed to work with small teams of terrific and talented people. In short, this incredible horse racing family has been incredibly good to my family, with my deepest gratitude. Like most families, mine is multicultural. My mother is South African. My father is a maritimer with deep Canadian roots. I grew up in Windsor, just across the Detroit River from the United States. And as such, I consider myself a pseudo-dual citizen and have a long list of Americans I'm proud to call friends. I have a deep love of Ireland and Detroit sports teams and British music groups, but if this last year has taught me anything, it has become abundantly clear that I am and forever will be Canadian first and foremost. So this honor is deeply significant for reasons I'm sure most of you can appreciate. I'll leave you with this. Beyond correcting my grammar and instilling a love of language, my mother has also been fond of enriching me with many strange South African expressions. One of those kept coming back to me as I wrote this speech, hoping beyond hope this is not yet my obituary. It goes like this. He landed with his bum in the butter. That one always amused and confused me, and I never fully understood what that meant until tonight. Thank you.
We did mention earlier this evening the reintroduction of legend inductees, following a hiatus from utilizing that category. The first of the 2025 legends to be inducted this evening is Wilma Kennedy, a proud Canadian horsewoman from Winnipeg, Manitoba, whose pioneering spirit shattered barriers for women in thoroughbred racing, particularly in Western Canada. Born William Patricia Chesney in 1910, she began her career at Polo Park, her hometown track, where she made a name for herself as a fearless and capable trainer. In a time when the racetrack backstretch was virtually off limits to women, aside from a few trainers' wives, Wilma not only entered the male-dominated world of horse racing, she transformed it. As one admirer put it, Wilma didn't just break barriers, she exploded them. In her mid-20s, Wilma began breeding, owning, racing, and training her own thoroughbreds, defying social norms and carving out a space for women in a traditionally closed industry. Her talents soon took her far beyond Manitoba. Throughout the 1940s and 50s, she trained at major tracks across North America, including Belmont, Saratoga, and Aqueduct in New York, Santa Anita and Hollywood Park in California, Keeneland and Churchill Downs in Kentucky, and many more. One of her most notable partnerships was with Tinkham Veal II, a prominent Cleveland industrialist and philanthropist. As the principal trainer for Veal's successful racing stable, Wilma conditioned Vital Force, a top-class stakes winner in the late 1950s. Under her guidance, Vital Force captured prestigious races such as the Tremont Stakes, World's Playground Stakes, Cherry Hill Stakes, Christiana Stakes, and Lafayette Stakes, defeating major competitors like Ouija Board, Ballyache, Mr. Howard, and Neshanon. Wilma Kennedy's impact extended internationally. Over the course of her career, she bred, owned, and trained thoroughbreds in Canada, the US, England, France, and Germany, and she managed extensive breeding operations in Florida, Kentucky, France, and Canada, and was admired for both her horsemanship and her leadership. In recognition of her accomplishments, she became the first woman ever elected to the American Thoroughbred Trainers Club. In the 1990s, a stakes race at Ellis Park was named in her honor. Wilma Kennedy passed away at the age of 90, leaving behind a powerful legacy as a trailblazer, mentor, and icon in the world of thoroughbred racing. Let us please turn to the screen as we salute Wilma Kennedy with a photo montage of highlights throughout her career. And I want to say a special thanks to Wilma's family and to the Keeneland Library for helping us tell her story through these beautiful images. Accepting the Legends plaque on behalf of Wilma Kennedy are her daughter-in-law Iris, granddaughter Kim, and great-granddaughter Amber, who have traveled from Manitoba to join us this evening. To make the presentation is the Thoroughbred Legend Committee Chair, himself an honored member of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame in the communicator category, Mr. Jim Bannon.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Wilma Kennedy, it is an honor and a privilege to accept this recognition as a thoroughbred legend in the Canadian Racehorse Hall of Fame. Wilma would be deeply pleased and humbled by this moment. Her love of horses began in childhood and only grew stronger throughout her life. When she married Dan Kennedy, the two of them began breeding thoroughbreds in their farm in Charleswood, a place they called Oak Tree Farm. Her beginning in Winnipeg, Wilma blazed a trail that would take her across North America and beyond. Wilma was a pioneer not only as a woman in a male-dominated sport, but as a breeder, a trainer, and an owner who was determined to succeed on her own terms. And succeed she did. With her horse, Bo Dandy, she captured the Canadian Championship at Woodbine. Wilma was a winner. Later, through her partnership with Tink and Veal, Wilma bred, trained, and raised top-tier horses across the United States, always earning respect, not just for her results, but for her horsemanship. I had the privilege of watching Wilma train her horses firsthand. I still remember a bright early morning in Belmont watching her work, firm yet gentle, fully aware of the animals she cared for. Her horses responded to her with obedience, but also with affection. After she retired her horse, Vital Force, to a farm in Kentucky, she would visit him each year and stand at the fence and call Vital, and he would come running. Wilma loved her horses, and her horses loved her. Wilma was a force in the world of thoroughbred racing, a trailblazer, a champion, and above all, a woman who lived her passion. On behalf of Wilma and her entire Kennedy family, thank you for this extraordinary honor.
All right, as we continue with dinner service, let's take a break from this evening's inductions for a few minutes and enjoy the company of those we are seated at the table with, and enjoy a lovely meal. I hope you're enjoying this delicious meal. We're going to get going again in 5 more minutes, just 5 more minutes. We'll be back on stage.
All right, folks, we're going to move forward with our inductions. So welcome back, everyone. Now that dessert and coffee are served, let's continue with our 2025 inductions. We will begin with our second legend inductee, this one representing Standardbreds. The better a trailblazer clears the path, the more invisible their struggle becomes, until the road they carved is mistaken for one that was always there. This is often the case with legends, and one of many reasons it is so important for us to formally acknowledge their efforts and accomplishments. 60 years ago, Bobby Huntress was clearing that path for women in harness racing. She was a U.S. citizen who made a lasting impact in Canada, where she spent much of her groundbreaking career. She was celebrated for her sharp driving skills and standout performances, most notably her remarkable season with Wee Irish and a stunning streak of 6 consecutive wins with Wee Ginger at Connaught Park in 1955. She returned to Connaught Park in 1959 and continued to compete across Canada, setting track records at Old Woodbine in 1961. She was a vocal and courageous advocate against sexism and discrimination in the sport. In the 1960s, she challenged restrictive licensing rules that froze out new female talent. Speaking out against these barriers, she famously said, and I quote, "Arguments against our sex driving horses are often ridiculous," as she pointed out the hypocrisy of allowing women to race at dangerous, poorly maintained fair tracks while denying them access to safer professional circuits. Her fierce advocacy and visibility helped shine a national spotlight on harness racing. She was featured in Sports Illustrated and appeared on the popular TV show To Tell the Truth. Alongside fellow pioneers like Hall of Famer Mildred Williams and Georgette Plouffe, she paved the way for future generations of women in racing. With decades of service to the industry as both a skilled horsewoman and an unrelenting trailblazer, Bobby Huntress left a powerful legacy of courage and progress. She passed away on February 20th, 2010 at the age of 81, but her impact on the sport continues to be felt. Thank you to her family for providing many of the photos captured in this video telling the story of her career. Let's take a look. plaque recognizing Bobby Huntress's induction to the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame as a legend are her niece and great-niece, Carol and Kelly Gilmore. Presenting the plaque is Daryl Kaplan, past president of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame, president of Standardbred Canada, and chair of the Standardbred Legends Committee.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much, Daryl, the Hall of Fame Standardbred Legend Committee, for this wonderful, wonderful honor for my Aunt Bobby. Thank you also to Linda Rainey, who somehow tracked our family down. Bobby Huntress Erdman was my dad's older sister. Her animals were her children, and she's been gone now for 15 years. We lost Dad last year. He might have been easier to find, but anyway, they would be thrilled that we are here tonight with you and with this year's wonderful inductee class. I've only recently realized how little about my aunt and her career that we learned as kids. I don't know if anybody here ever met her besides the two of us. Oh, wonderful. We can talk later. I would love it. So I'm going to give some of my perspective, and I think the slides showed a lot of her racing statistics, so this will be a little bit more of her as a person. As kids, we knew that Bobby and my dad performed violin duets together as little kids, and they both played low brass instruments later. Their family went hunting and fishing at a small lake in northern New York. They were top of their classes at Governor High School in upstate New York, very upstate New York. What I didn't know, was that Bobby started working with harness horses in 1943. She was a teenager, she was about 15. After somebody, and she didn't remember who that was, let her get up on a bike at the fairgrounds next to the high school, she was hooked. She was even cutting her study halls to be out on the track. And Bobby then went to Potsdam State Teachers College, and in 1950 started teaching music in public school. She continued, though, to train horses before and after classes and full-time in the summers. After 3 years, she left the teaching job for the horses full-time. She went to work for George McClear, who had recently started a stable, and she got her driving license. Years later, Mr. McClear said, and the quotes that I have, by the way, are from published newspaper clippings, articles along the way. But Mr. McClear said, "I liked the way she handled my horses. I let her train and drive for me, and I am not sorry. My horses seem to prefer her to me." Bobby established herself at Canadian tracks, Vernon, and the summer fair circuit. She would be sad that many of these Canadian tracks are gone now. Mr. McClear let her drive most of the time for him outside of the New York metropolitan area, where tracks banned women drivers. And after the U.S. Trotting Association stopped licensing new women drivers, there was a time where she was one of 4 licensed parimutuel women drivers. Only 4. Often, Bobby was the only woman driver at a track. I don't recall ever seeing another woman driver when we visited for about a week each summer. She just wanted to race, and going against men never seemed to bother her. She said, "They found out I don't scare easily." And she didn't think that the men tried to push her around any more than they pushed each other around. You guys probably know way more about that than I do. My siblings and I were so excited for those summer visits. Aunt Bobby was fun. She told us her dog Clarence could read the R and the L she'd written on her old shoes, and he would prove it by fetching the shoe he was told to get. And we believed her. We would go up to the hayloft, and we would spread some bales apart, and we would cover those gaps with loose hay, and then we would entice her to go up there and lead her around until she fell into one of our traps. And for years, we thought we were fooling her. She taught us barn and grooming tasks and never let on that she would have done that work a whole lot faster without our help. In 1961, when Bobby was at Woodbine, there was a sports feature in the newspaper on her success as a woman driver who was doing 2 or 3 times as much work as the average trainer. She said in racing, there were starting to be the big guys and the little guys. And she was a little guy her whole career, so she had to do everything. But she said, if you're really interested in horses, you can get that work done. She drove and did maintenance on the McClear Stable's big blue 5-horse van. I remember that van, but I was too young to remember when Aunt Bobby stabled her horses at Tillsonburg Fairgrounds in 1962 to race in London. The family lore says I tumbled down the ramp of that van and skinned up my face. My mother did not like that. She did her first shoeing solely out of necessity because the only blacksmith in her town had a heart condition and he wasn't available. This horse had never yet worn shoes, so apparently it took a while. Much later, she said, the last time I paid a blacksmith, it cost $21 for just an ordinary job. The horse was rather mean, and I figured I'd better have it done. But when I got the bill, I thought, never again, not for a job I can do myself. For years, she did all of her own shoeing up until she got married to Cliff Erdman, a blacksmith at Monticello Raceway. As for being a pioneer, as a woman in the man's world of harness racing, she told the press, I never figured I had to yell women's rights. If I was good at what I was doing, they would come to respect me. There was a lot of press, racing results, interviews, the novelty of a lady driver. They mentioned the slim 115-pound school marm and the little slip of a girl. These are the headlines. But then the articles went on with fabulous success as a harness driver, a factor in every race, top flight American lady driver, and one of the top reinsmen now appearing at Bluebonnets. Bobby believed fans bet on horses, not drivers, and she drove some good horses. Here's my last story. One time at Richelieu Park, where, and this is a quote from her in a paper, where I was subbing for Mr. McClear, a fan in the clubhouse, seeing me warm up our horse, hollered down, "Are you going to drive the race?" When I said yes, he yelled out, "Well, I ain't gonna bet on no damn woman driver." I won the race. I guess he's still swearing at me. Bobby's strategy, I think, was correct. She was good at what she was doing, and they did come to respect her. We thank you very much for recognizing her, her accomplishments, all that she's done for her horses and racing here tonight. Thank you so much.
For our next inductee, a thoroughbred, in an eerily similar way to his Hall of Fame sire, Awesome Again, our next thoroughbred inductee also took the racing world by storm. Their careers closely mirror one another. Like his father, this son never seemed to put a foot wrong and always seemed to reach a high cruising speed effortlessly in all of his wins. As a sire, his offspring carry the torch from his paternal bloodline with aplomb, leaving an indelible mark in recent years on the historic Queen's Plate. Ladies and gentlemen, the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct thoroughbred male horse Ghostzapper.
And Ghostzapper is pulling away impressively.
Ghostzapper continues the legacy of his Canadian-bred superstar sire, Awesome Again.
And Awesome Again would not be denied his place in history. He wins the Queen's Plate.
Both horses won the Breeders' Cup Classic. Awesome Again in 1998, Ghostzapper in 2004. And now both are members of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. While racing, Ghostzapper won 9 of his 11 races, posting Beyer speed figures from 114 to a remarkable 128, and in 2004 received the Eclipse Award for Horse of the Year. In 2012, he was inducted to the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. Ghostzapper entered stud in Kentucky, drawing considerable interest from Canadian breeders and buyers. His Ontario-bred daughter, Judy the Beauty, won the 2014 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint at Santa Anita and was the winner of that year's Eclipse Award for Champion Female Sprinter before being inducted to the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame in 2018.
Judy the Beauty! Judy the Beauty! Holds on!
His influence as a sire continues as the maternal grandsire of Triple Crown winner Justify, an inductee to the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame in 2024. It's Ghostzapper's record with plate winners that put an exclamation point on his inclusion into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. First came 2012 Queen's Plate winner Shaman Ghost.
And Shaman Ghost takes the Queen's Plate!
In 2017, it was filly Holy Helena who was victorious, and most recently, in 2022, the marvelous Moira romped over the boys in the plate.
Is a big win for Moira.
Before winning the 2024 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf and collecting the Eclipse Award as Champion Turf Female.
Moira! Oh, Canada!
Accepting Ghostzapper's Hall of Fame award and a stall plate is owner Frank Stronach. Making the presentation, Sean Smullins, farm manager at Adena Springs North. Frank, you've had some amazing horses in ownership. Ghostzapper, he even began with a huge win at Hollywood Park. I'm curious to know, at the very start, what was your expectation of this horse?
Well, I had a call from Bobby Frankel, and when Bobby Frankel calls you and said, look, I think we got a special horse, you got to listen to it. Okay, but anyway, it's great to be here. I always like to be amongst people which love horses, and I'd like to congratulate the Canadian Racing Hall of Fame for putting on this show. I think it's very important that we, from time to time, we have to be reminded that horses were, call it what I would call the man's best friend. They rendered the greatest service to mankind. They plowed the fields, created food, by plowing and transportation and so forth. I think we gotta show much more respect for horses, right? They're man's best friend, right? So that's I think very important. And over and above, I feel myself very blessed that I was able to have so many great horses, and you can only have so many great horses if you got great people to look after them. Where's Sean when I need him? He'll come up once more, right? Okay. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of great people, and that's what it takes to have great horses. Thank you, and let's all meet again next year.
And best of luck in the King's Plate race there. You keep winning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
At the dawn of the new millennium, our next inductee became the first Canadian-bred horse to win harness racing's most fabled dash. 25 years later, his name remains one of the most recognizable and beloved, driven by a fondness for the champion himself and his connections that transcends breed, gait, and time. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is very proud to induct Yankee Paco.
On August 7th, 2000, Yankee Paco made history as the first Canadian-bred horse to win the prestigious $1 million Hambletonian, the holy grail of harness racing. Trained by Doug McIntosh, driven by Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame 2019 inductee Trevor Ritchie, and co-owned by Harry and Tom Ivey, the chestnut son of Balanced Image garnered national attention and pride. His groundbreaking victory drew international media attention, marked a pivotal moment in harness racing, and led to O'Brien Awards as Canada's 3-year-old trotting colt of the year and horse of the year. He boasted a 9-race win streak from June through October, highlighted by his monumental victory in the Hambletonian. Wins in the Canadian Trotting Classic.
Yankee Paco got the Canadian Trotting Classic final.
The American National, Simcoe Stakes, and the Ontario Sire Stakes Super Final kept Yankee Paco's growing fan base captivated.
What a championship performance to win the 2000 Super Final. Yankee Paco earned it.
Yankee Paco bankrolled just under $1.5 million during his career, more than $1.3 million of which came at age 3. Victories at age 2 came by way of an Ontario Sire Stakes Gold Final and the Canadian Breeders' Championship.
Yankee Paco finally takes the best of You Had a Dream. Yankee Paco is the Canadian Breeders' Champion. Yankee Paco in 158-3, a new stakes record.
While Yankee Paco's impact in the breeding shed was limited, his exceptional racing career, especially as a Canadian-bred dominating international competition, cemented his legacy in Canadian harness racing history.
Coming to the stage for Yankee Paco's induction presentation are 3 very important individuals in his career: owner Dr. Tom Ivey, trainer Doug McIntosh, and driver and Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame honored member Trevor Ritchie. Okay, well, I have the pleasure of asking a question of each of these gentlemen. Dr. Ivey, we've never met before. Nice to meet you. No, 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 no. I'm gonna ask you questions. I'm gonna ask you a question. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. Okay. You're not aware of this question, I guess, huh? I'm ready for it. Okay. Oh, he's ready for a question. All right. Okay. All right. You're a cardiologist. Is that correct?
Pardon?
You're a cardiologist?
Yes.
Okay. Is it
Cardiac surgeon.
Cardiac surgeon, that was going to be my question. Cardiologist or cardiac surgeon. Okay, so my question, you'll like this question. I get it, you're pretty clever, so you probably know where I'm going to go with this, right? So you're a cardiac surgeon. I'll take you back to August 5th, 2000. Yankee Paco is 2-1 in the Hambo, not the favorite, but still lots of pressure, right? You're sitting there, standing, you're probably standing, right? You're standing, watching the race. They're coming to the top of the stretch. Yankee Paco turns for home, and my question for you, Dr. Ivy, is what is happening to your heart, both literally and figuratively at that point?
Well, I don't know. I thought one thing about Yankee Paco, there are very few horses that had a heart as big as he did, and had a trainer that knew the horse better than anybody. Balanced image, speedy crown mare, that's Doug. And a driver who, pretty cool, savvy. So I wasn't really worried, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That is a slick answer. I like that answer. Is that a good answer? Yeah, give it up for Dr. Ivy. Thank you very much, sir. All right. I'm going to slip in between you and Doug here, and I'm going to ask a question to Doug. All right. How are you tonight?
Good. Great.
Good.
Couldn't be better.
That's a nice color shirt on you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I love this quote from you, Doug. It's from a CBC article published a few days prior to the 2000 Hambo. And in it you said, as trainers, we sometimes get too much credit. This horse is a great athlete, a natural, and it's more a case of managing him than anything else. So my question for you is, when you reflect on your thousands and thousands of hours spent with Yankee Paco, this exceptional athlete that you managed, is there anything that he taught you that you hadn't known previously?
Well, firstly, if you train balanced images, you better learn patience.
That's fair.
And secondly, I think good conditioning, good feeding, a top groom, which I got a shout out to Reggie Gassion, God rest in peace. He was his groom from 2 and 3, did a wonderful job, and the cooperation from an owner. That is, it makes the perfect mix.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And finally, my favorite driver in the whole wide world, Trevor Ritchie. My question for you, Trev. I've watched this stretch drive dozens, but probably hundreds of times. And every time I watch it, I'm always mesmerized by how straight, still, and forward-focused you are in that last 20 lengths. To me, it's truly like you and the horse are one solitary unit. How do you remember those last 20 lengths?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question, Jane.
Oh, so well played, so well played. Yes, you should applaud that. That's so good. That's so good. All right.
Kelly, sorry. How do I remember it? Well, I guess from the head of the stretch, I remembered it the most. I know the horse that was following me tipped off my back, and I just said, well, it's time to, poop or get off the pot sort of thing. So away we went, and about halfway through the lane, which seemed like an eternity at the time, I said, where the hell's the wire? It was a long way to go yet, but, and then to your question about 20 lengths before the wire, I'm thinking to myself, geez, we might have a chance to win this thing. And then just as I got to the wire and won it, I said, holy frig, we just won the Hambo.
Holy frig, we just won the Hambo.
It wasn't quite like that, but it was close.
I got it, yeah. I picked up what you were putting down. Thanks very much, Trevor.
You're welcome.
All right, how about a round of applause for these three gentlemen? Oh.
I want to thank all my Canadian friends for having us here. We did not vote for Donald Trump, and Viva Canada.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. Congratulations, gentlemen. Congratulations.
It is time for our next thoroughbred inductee. Foaled in 1978 at E.P. Taylor's Winfields Farm, this son of Northern Dancer was sold for $1 million in the 1979 Keeneland July sale. Under the tutelage of famed Irish trainer Vincent O'Brien, the colt went undefeated in all 5 of his juvenile starts and was named champion 2-year-old in England and Ireland. He was retired to stud in Kentucky, becoming a significant sire of sires, including the mighty Stormcat. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct thoroughbred veteran Stormbird.
A champion on the racetrack, Stormbird passed on his impeccable bloodlines and talent to his offspring and to the offspring of his daughters. A son of the great Northern Dancer out of South Ocean, Stormbird was bred by E.P. Taylor in Oshawa. His full sister, Northernette, was already a champion twice and a Grade 1 winner, so expectations were high for the colt. Purchased for $1 million at the Keeneland July Selected Sale in 1979 by Robert Sangster, Stormbird matched those expectations and more. Under the training of celebrated Irish conditioner Vincent O'Brien, Stormbird flew to victory in his first 4 career races in Ireland. He completed his juvenile season with a gritty victory in windy and wet conditions at Newmarket and the Group 1 William Dewhurst Stakes. Concluding his race career with only 1 start at age 3, Stormbird was then syndicated for $30 million to stand at Ashford Stud in Kentucky. He was an instant success, siring champions Balanchine, Indian Skimmer, Bluebird, among others.
It's Bluebird for Ireland, the winner.
Perhaps his greatest offspring was Stormcat, who was from Stormbird's first crop. A Grade 1 winner on the track, Stormcat went on to sire 129 stakes winners as one of horse racing's great stallions. In total, Stormbird sired 63 stakes winners, and his daughters produced over 100 stakes winners, including 1995 Kentucky Derby winner Thunder Gulch and 2004 Belmont Stakes winner Birdstone.
Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
Representing Stormbird for his presentation is Noreen Taylor. And making the presentation is Catherine Day Phillips, Chair of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame Thoroughbred Election Committee. And a welcome to Nadina, stepdaughter of Noreen. Lovely to have you here, and we saw the incredible story of Stormbird. We also want to know, at the very part of the beginning, what was the decision to go to South Ocean? As we knew Northern Dancer was amazing, and then South Ocean popped up on the scene.
Well, South Ocean was a gift from my father-in-law to his son Charles, as he was trying to persuade him to get interested in racing instead of this thing called being a foreign correspondent. And so, of course, when he went on to win, that was sort of taken away from Charles. But the breeding, actually, if there's one thing I can say to everybody here tonight, none of this happens by ourselves. It is all the people involved. In this case, in terms of the breeding, it's Peter Poole and Joe Thomas. But everybody at the farm is responsible for doing so much, and we wouldn't have these wonderful animals without all the people that work collectively together to achieve these results.
Well, it was amazing to see, the influence and Stormbird's success in Ireland and Vincent O'Brien's role, which you can speak to a little bit, I believe.
Well, if you've ever been to Ireland and visited Ballydoyle, you know what an incredibly inspiring place it is to train a horse. Vincent had the ability to recreate parts of racetracks so the horses would train on the conditions that they were going to eventually win on. And he had an innate sense of what horses could do and which races they would suit. And Robert Sangster was right there along with him.
As far as Ashford Stud and the incredible success, just as we heard, 63 stakes winners and Stormcat, how gratifying is that when you really hit the gold mine?
As anybody in this room knows, standing a sire at stud is a difficult business. So there's a lot of people, again, involved. And in a competitive atmosphere like Kentucky with so many good stallions, looking at the management of Ashford that could create not just a number of stakes winners, but become a sire of sires. That's an amazing thing to accomplish, and any farm would be proud of it. I think it's the people involved that create the horses and that do all the things we love so much about this industry. And thank you, I'm very gratified.
Thank you. You have so many stories. We'd love to hear more, but thank you. Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here, and for Nadina as well. Appreciate it, Noreen.
Here's a quote from our next inductee. This game, when you stop and think about it, is all about hope and optimism. His philosophy is evident in his market impact on the Canadian harness racing industry. Driven by a deep-rooted family connection and childhood immersion in the sport, inspired by standout horses which pushed his ambition higher, and illustrated in his support of industry growth, innovation, and community building. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is very proud to induct Brad Grant.
Brad Grant is a prominent figure in North American harness racing and a second-generation Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame honored member, proudly continuing the legacy of his father, fellow honored member John Grant. The longtime Milton, Ontario resident has consistently demonstrated his passion and commitment to the industry as an owner, a champion of many fundraising initiatives, including the Breeders' Crown Charity Challenge, and as a volunteer on several industry boards, including Woodbine Entertainment's board of directors. Grant was part owner of two Hambletonian winners, Atlanta and Ramona Hill, and co-owned Hall of Famer Bulldog Hanover, the fastest standardbred in history.
And it's Bulldog Hanover, a crowning moment on Canadian soil.
Stay hungry. It's academic. Wheels on Fire, Apprentice Hanover, and Sand Between Your Toes make up his roster of millionaires. In 7 of the last 8 years, he has led all owners in purse earnings on the Woodbine Entertainment circuit. Grant, one of Canada's leading trucking magnates, was honored with the United States Harness Writers Humanitarian Award in 2018, and that same year, he was inducted into the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. He received the Norman Woolworth Owner of the Year Award in 2022, and now he adds another prestigious accolade to his credentials, induction into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame.
Joining Brad on stage to present him with his Hall of Fame ring is his longtime friend, Gary Hunt.
I have to read notes tonight. I would first like to congratulate all this year's Hall of Fame inductees. It's an honor to be part of this and share it with you tonight. I want to thank my friend of probably more than 45 plus years, Gary Hunt, for being my presenter. You have been a true friend, and it means a lot that I can share this with you. I'd also like to thank my good friend from the Ottawa Valley, Hector Cluche, for putting my name forward. I've been blessed to have been associated with so many great people and amazing horses in this industry that I can't begin to name them all. But there is some I do need to mention. To Dave Green and Scott McEnany, who have been around since the early days, I thank you for your friendship. Ben Wallace, the guy who showed me what the big show was like and helped me to the next level. He's in the Hall of Fame for his accomplishments, but to me, he's a Hall of Fame guy. Larry and Ray Remen, they supported me immensely when I decided that I wanted to race at the Meadowlands. And again, they, like so many others, became great lifelong friends. Tony Alanya, who gave me my great horses, many of my great horses. He gave me my first Breeders' Crown, my first stallion, Stay Hungry, and who introduced me to many of my great partners. Tony, I thank you for all you've done. To John Bax, another inductee tonight, who is a master of the trotter and a good friend. We keep trying to find the next great one together, and all I can say, I'm ready for it. To Richard Morrow, who for many years has handled our horses that raced at Mohawk, your support has helped me win many awards, numerous O'Briens, and all I can say is merci, Richard. To Michelle Crawford, Robert LeBlanc, Al Ledfeld, Robbie Pride, Jack Darling, Howard Taylor, Wendy Sammelman, Mark Weaver, Ron Burke, and many of my other past partners. It was because of you that I'm here tonight. To Bridget Jablonski, who is not only probably one of the keenest eyes at picking yearlings, but has been a great teacher and has tolerated me as I've asked 100,000 questions over the last couple of years about yearlings and what to look for. I've been lucky enough to be involved with some great horses along the way, but it would not be possible, it would not have been possible if not for the unsung heroes of our sports, the caretakers. To each of you, I say thank you, and you are the lifeline of our industry. I'm a third-generation horseman. They said second. My grandfather, Bernard Grant, was the original. When I was young, we would visit the Lombardy farm, and he would teach me all the tricks. But it was my dad's influence and determination that helped me in my quest to try to have the best horses. I'm sure he didn't think I was listening along the way, but when I needed advice, I remembered what he said. I get to join him in the Hall of Fame. It was never a goal of mine, but it is an honor to share it with my father. In closing, I have to thank the most important people in my life. My wife, Bonnie, who has been my biggest supporter, my sounding board, and my co-pilot on many a trip. My daughter, Heather, and her husband, Paul, and my son, John, and his wife, Taylor. My children have been the strongest supporters in whatever I have done, and I am also so proud of the young people you have become. I would have thanked my grandchildren, who were here earlier, but they bailed to go watch a movie called Bad Guys 2. Papa can't compete with Disney. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder to all our inductees, these wonderful posters, please, you are welcome to take them home after the event. When our next inductee moved across the pond from his hometown, Dublin, to Toronto, he brought his racing savvy and equine knowledge with him. He grew up in a racing family, and with racing in his blood, did not take long to find his feet and establish his niche as a trainer. Working for some of Canada's most prominent thoroughbred racing operations, his sharp eye for a good horse paid dividends, with dozens of stakes winners throughout his career, all while being a mentor to many, including up-and-coming trainers. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct Mike Doyle.
Dublin, Ireland-born Mike Doyle was immersed in the horse world of jumpers and racehorses while still in school. Despite his trainer and bloodstock agent father Jack's encouragement to try veterinary school, Mike moved to Canada, initially working for Gardner Farms before taking a job with Jim Bentley, subsequently as trainer for George Frostad's boutique stable, in time adding Eaton Hall Farm as a client. In 1984, Mike purchased Vice Regent filly Bessarabian for Eaton Hall for $122,000. She would go on to win the Grade 2 Gardenia and Grade 3 Natalma as a juvenile.
And through the stretch, Bessarabian down to the wire, winning the Natalma Stakes.
Helping Mike win the Sovereign Award as Canada's outstanding trainer. Bessarabian's career included 17 wins, earning over $1 million, and was presented the 1986 Sovereign Award for Champion Older Mare.
And Bessarabian's going to go over $1 million lifetime and closes the door on a brilliant career.
Mike also trained for Bill Graham's Windhaven Farm, winning the 1989 Canadian Oaks with Blonde in a Motel.
Blonde in a Motel, Curtis to the front, a great effort by Blonde in a Motel.
In 1993, Mike guided the American-bred colt Wild Gale to the American Triple Crown and watched him finish a close and very troubled third in the Kentucky Derby. Wild Gale also finished third in that year's Belmont Stakes. As racing manager for Frank Stronach's Adena Springs, Doyle purchased and trained multiple stakes winners for the farm. Mike surpassed his 1,000th career training victory in 2014, and he is also known for his hand in the development of top horse people who have worked for him.
We welcome Mike Doyle to the stage for his ring presentation, which will be made by friend John Whitson. I'm not used to seeing him without his hat on.
Can you hear me now? Anyway, I want to thank all the other inductees and anybody who voted for me. Appreciate it a lot. And I was hoping that my wife would be here this evening to see it because it's a big night. And unfortunately, she couldn't make it. And I just wanted to let people know that we were a team always and did everything together. And she's done all the stuff, book work and raising kids and stuff like that. And I just like her to know I appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank out anybody who let me train for them. I've had a lot of nice horses over the years. I'm very, very lucky to have it be that way. And I've got some great friends here tonight, and I really appreciate them showing up. My kids are here, Melissa and Marsh, and I really appreciate that also. And thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Our final inductee for this evening is universally revered as a hallmark of integrity and skill in Canadian harness racing. Someone whose success is rooted in patience, mentorship, service, and building a legacy. Put simply, nice guys do finish first, a lot. Despite his legendary humility, tonight he will begrudgingly tolerate our celebration of his magnificent accomplishments as he joins his most endeared pupil, Good Times, into this very, very exclusive club of truly incredible individuals. The Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame is proud to induct John Bax.
John Bax's journey into standardbred racing began unexpectedly when his family purchased a Peterborough area property that came with over 40 harness horses. That twist of fate launched an exceptional training career with 925 wins and more than 26.8 million in purses. His early breakthrough came with Fax Machine in the 1990s, but his most celebrated horse is Hall of Famer Good Times, a 50-time winner and once the richest Canadian-bred trotter with over 2.2 million in earnings.
Good Times hanging on for dear life with Corncob Conk. Good Times wins the Maple Leaf Trot.
Bax earned the 2001 O'Brien Award as Canada's Trainer of the Year after a standout season that included Duke of York's Breeders' Crown victory.
Duke of York! Duke of York has captured the crown.
Other standouts from his barn include Define the World, a 2008 O'Brien Divisional winner, and Riveting Rosie, who won Ontario Sire Stakes Super Finals and O'Brien Awards in 2013 and 2014.
And it's Riveting Rosie still there. She's 2.5 lengths clear, and it's a Paul McDonnell masterpiece with Riveting Rosie.
In the 2014 Peaceful Way Stakes, Bax trained horses finished in the top 3 positions.
Bax pupils 1, 2 in deep stretch. Stubborn Bell or Juanita's Fury. Stubborn Bell, Juanita's Fury. Stubborn Bell holds on to win.
A respected judge of yearlings and a dedicated industry leader, Bax served as a director with both the Ontario Harness Horse Association and the Central Ontario Standardbred Association. He retired from training in 2022 after achieving a personal best in earnings and winning his first Johnston Cup as the leading trainer in the Ontario Sires Stakes.
Joining John on stage for his ring presentation is his lovely wife, Vicki.
I think Linda called this the 14th race, so I'll try not to make it last too long. So I'd like to congratulate fellow inductees and thank the selection committee. It is truly an honor to be here. There's so many people who are part of this journey. I'll start with my parents who emigrated from the Netherlands after the war. Like many immigrants, my father worked 2 jobs.
He had a small farm plus worked General Motors until he could get to the point where he could make a living from a farm. So my siblings who are here tonight, we learn at an early age about the value of working hard to get ahead. My parents were very grateful for the chance to come to Canada and have a chance to get ahead, and I'm appreciative of their all they did for us. Many owners that I owe thanks to. Some of them are no longer with us, but for the owners that would jump in the truck and go on a road trip with me to various tracks, I want to thank them for the support and just the good times we had. It seemed a lot simpler back in those days. And for the owners that would go to the sales and participate and enjoy, you know, the picking of horses and bidding on them and buying them, you know, I appreciate your enthusiasm. To the owners that come to the farm on the weekend and just enjoy the horses and are relaxed and you know, spend time, and it's such a good feeling when you can share the joy of a horse with them. Your loyalty and enthusiasm made it easy to get up in the morning and do the work. So thank you all for making it a lifetime of joy training for you. Also like to thank the many people who worked with and for us over the years, from trainers to grooms, to vets, to blacksmiths. Special shout out to my brother Carl, who not only was the pedigree expert, but he was the blacksmith who would, even when he was in a wheelchair, he would get under the horse and shoe the horse. And so thank you, Carl. Living on a farm, of course, means lots of chores, and without the support of your family, it's a hard thing to do. And our 4 children, Marshall, Matt, Wyatt, and Robin, are a big part of our success, and I'd like to thank them. But without a doubt, the person who played the biggest part in our success is my wife, Vicki. She raised their kids, took them to hockey, football, basketball, soccer, rugby, took them to the hospital when they broke bones. So she was the taxi. And in her spare time, she did the book work and told me how much I could spend at a sale, and you know, how much stake payments I could make. And as you know, horse people aren't the greatest bookkeepers. So without her, I couldn't have got to where I can. And this is her award as much as it is mine. And I appreciate all you've done for me, dear. I think that's good enough. Thank you.
So that actually concludes the inductions of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame class of 2025. So a round of applause for our class of 2025.
It says here banter.
Well, we had some
You
amazing
folks-
stories, I'll say that
We did.
much.
Would you guys like us to banter for a little bit?
No.
Let's just say what a great night. Some beautiful speeches. I think the theme here is the sharing of these experiences that these horses bestow upon us, and the human connections that run through this industry. So what a beautiful, beautiful night, full of beautiful people, beautiful horses, and beautiful words.
Well said. I ditto.
Ditto. Right, awesome.
Well, congratulations to the inductees. Thanks to their representatives for joining us this evening. And I know you've traveled from many different destinations. We so appreciate it. This event would not be possible without the support of so many people and organizations that include audiovisual support, Digital X.
The awards, Soul Drive Enterprises. Co-hosts, Kelly Spencer and
Kelly
Robert Geller.
Spencer.
I think that's the most important part right there. Oh, come on.
Decor, Life in Flowers.
Event photography, Clive Cohen and his son Ben from New Image Media.
French translation, bonjour, comment allez-vous? Manon Gravel.
You're such a show-off. Graphic design, DM Penny.
Inductee biographies, Jennifer Morrison, Kathy Wade, Vla. Kathy Wade Vla.
It's the end of the night. Robert's getting a little punchy. Inductee photos. Mark Hall, the USTA, Ryan Haynes, Dave Landry, Barbara Livingston, New Image Media, Beverly Smith, and Nigel Solt.
Inductee rings, Justin's Canada.
Stall plates, Precision Craft Laser Engraving.
Printing, Sportswood Printing, a division of Alama Express Limited.
Video production, Woodbine Entertainment Group, the broadcast production department, including producer Tammy Galanders.
Stand up, Tammy.
Applause for Always
Venue. A
such
big
great
thanks to Mississauga Convention Center right here.
Yes. And the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame Planning Committee, including committee chair Andrea Maggie.
Andrea McGee. And all the volunteers.
Robert always says when he doesn't know a name, he just says it fast.
It's my accent.
He says it fast, and no one ever
Yes.
gives him any trouble
Grief.
about it because he has an accent.
So you're the one with the accent, actually. But without you, any of these named people, we would not be here tonight. So we want to give a round of
Yes.
applause for all of those many different aspects that bring a night like this together.
Yes. And one last item of business, too, actually, just a reminder, if you are an inductee, to make sure you take home your poster. And we must, I think we should give an extra round of applause to Linda Rainey,
Yes,
who
please.
does tireless work to make all of this look as though it's easy peasy to pull off. So thank you and congratulations to Linda. And finally, we have to determine how it is that we're going to award these flower arrangements. So I said just a fist fight, but that apparently did not go over well. So I think, what do? We go, how about whoever's birthday is closest to, what's your favorite month?
The
Just pick
King's
one.
Plate, August 16th.
Okay, yes, that's great. Whoever at your table, their birthday is closest to August 16th, that is who takes home the flower arrangements. Okay? Talk amongst yourselves. And with that, we would like to thank you all
Yes, thank you so much.
and
we
wish you
appreciate
a
it.
fabulous evening. Thank
Have a
you
good
very
night.
much.